Hello there. We're gonna go over the three challenges that you were introduced in the um, previous video on the challenges for Python Basic. Okay, the first challenge was to calculate these averages, average general GPA, major GPA, i.e. general GPA, and so on and so forth. So the best way to go about this is really to create some lists that have all the numbers that we want to do a calculation with. So if we have all the numbers that are relevant to the calculations of general GPAs in one list, then our job is much easier. We can do the very simple average on that list. So I have created empty lists and I go through a loop of through all of the students. So I say students and for student in students. So students are the collections of students. Student is every student. And I do remember that when I say student here, what I mean is basically this list of items that have name, major, general GPA, major GPA, and the advisor's name. So I go through them like all of the general, all of the general GPA and all of the major GPA are going to be added to general GPAs and major GPAs. But if a student is IE, they will be added to the general GPAs for IE and major GPAs IE. And if they're not, which are ME, they will be added to ME general GPAs and ME major GPAs, basically. So once we go through all of these appending of different numbers to these lists, now we can simply use the Python function of sum to sum up all of the values and then dividing them back by their lengths, which gives us the average. And we can use that the template thing that we already know to sort of like put that value in this spot here once we calculate them. So once I run this, now I get the values that I am looking for. For challenge number 2, the trick of challenge number 2 is really just doing a nested loop, and it might become difficult when you're doing the nested loop to really wrap your mind around different indexes, like which one is what index. So the way I have done it, I have created a template saying the factorial of this number is the other number. So when I am done with my product, I say template percentage sign that number and then product. So I want to create this to be from 1 to 50. So I create this loop that gives the number 1 from 1 to 50. So I want to create a series that goes from 1 all the way to 1. So 1 is not a good example. Let's say it goes from 1 all the way to 10, because at some point we'll get to 10. So whatever that is, we multiply that product, which we set to be 1 before the starting of the second loop, to be multiplied by number 2 plus 1. The reason that there is a plus 1 here is that whenever we use range, it creates all of the possible numbers from 1 all the way to that number minus 1. But since we want the actual that number to also be multiplied, so we add that plus 1. And once the product is created by doing this part of the code, now the template and this print part comes in and the value will be printed. This is how it looks like. Challenge 3, the simplest out of the 3 of them. Basically, you want to get the name of each student. So you want to get their first name by splitting their full name and by specifying that you only want the first part of the full name by splitting it. Do you remember when we split a string? If we don't specify what character we want to split on, it will split on the space. So since every full name has a space between first name and last name, this is a reliable way to find the first name. So we find the first name, and then the general GPA, we know that it's stored in the index 2. So we create a message saying that the first name that sits here, and then the GPA is this one. This will run beautifully.